Thank you for having me. So I will talk a little bit more about what Google is offering, because to my surprise, Google was not mentioned, but this is actually very nice for me now, because now I can tell you what else we do. I will approach the topic a little bit differently, because I will focus more on the enterprise portion, and not on the individual consumer experience, but we'll get to that in a second. So the introduction has been done already. Maybe just one slide bit of information. I'm not really from the imaging or printing industry or publishing industry, right? So I'm working on the platform, and that's also why I've mentioned enterprise. Of course, we're working with multiple different industries, and I'm also happy to talk about your specific use cases. But we are applying a lot of the technology that I'm showing to different use cases as well, right? Because this is affecting a lot of sectors. So talking about Google. So when you think about Google, of course, at first you think about search, but hopefully at least some of you also think about our consumer hardware, for example, because we pride ourselves on the quality of our Pixel phones, which have a specific focus, of course, on image quality in the consumer space. Some of you working on your version of these phones, for example, might have already tried out some of the AI editing features which are embedded there. So for example, you can remove people from the background of images. Yeah, if you take your favorite vacation photos and there's just one other person on the beach you don't want in your family photo, you can remove that. So that's one thing. And of course, we do have Google Photos as a place for you to store all those images. I'm showing you this to tell you this is not the same thing I will talk about from now on, yeah, because that is there, and that's of course the same technology we apply to a lot of the stuff that we are doing. But in the enterprise sector, we have a so-called portfolio which is under the brand of Vertex AI. Yeah, so Vertex is Google's name for our AI portfolio, which comprises different layers. This starts at the infrastructure layer. Yeah, we've got all the stuff that's been shown, like Midjourney as well. By the way, fun fact, Midjourney is running fully on Google Cloud, just saying. This is running, of course, on powerful hardware. Yeah? So whenever you visit a website, generate an image, this image is produced on a computer standing somewhere, right? So we have this specialized hardware there. And this Vertex AI portfolio comprises the hardware, but also different models and tools for developers, but also for business users to then create content. And what you can see already, I will talk a little bit about imaging now and about one particular model for imaging. But we also do have models for video, for example. So we've got demos where you can just consider you are maybe working in real estate, yeah, and you want to put up an expose. And you can just take a couple of photos, throw them at a model, and then you can have a 3D video, yeah, which is generating like this video walking around the apartment. So we've got video in there, we've got music as well, yeah, so you can generate music, and multimodal is taking it all together and then doing this chatbot prompting like experience or asking chatbot about video, so on and so forth. But since we're talking about imaging, I want to focus about imaging. Now I have to address the elephant in the room. Standing here is Google. The first complaint I'm always getting is, yeah, but you are Google, and when I use your tools, my data's gone, right? And you use that to improve your tools and everything. And especially in the enterprise context, where we have paying customers who need to trust us with their data, this is absolutely not true. Yeah? So we do not use any customer data to train our models in the enterprise context, in this Vertex AI portfolio. Yeah? So when companies use our tools to generate content, to embed that into their products, that content is theirs. Yeah? So I just want to get that straight up front. And also, in the enterprise context, we of course have very, very high requirements for responsible and safe AI. And I will get a little bit deeper into that in a second. And also one topic, I'm not sure if that's of interest to you, but there's a lot of legal implications with generating AI content. Yeah? Because who owns the content that is being generated? What happens if the content that is being generated violates third-party intellectual property rights, yeah? So IP violations. And we as Google Cloud, again in the enterprise context, have very excessive indemnification clauses, which means that the content is safe for our customers to use. And in case any charges are incurred due to whatever reason that's fault of the product, then Google will stand straight for that. Yeah? So that's something I want to really show. This is really an enterprise offering now I'm talking about. Of course, each individual person can use that as well. But it's really interesting to embed that into products. So I've talked about, I've already mentioned that I will talk about image generation going forward. And one model we are using for that is called Imagen. Imagen is one model within Vertex AI. We do offer multiple different models which can be used, but this is like the Google native model for image generation. And this is basically doing most of what you've just seen. Yeah? So what Andreas showed with and I don't want to compare like specific models, which one is better and which one is not, but the basic premise of Imagen is that you put in a prompt and it will generate an image for you. Yeah? We have just announced on our annual developer conference the next version of that tool, which will again bring additional features. But the version which is public right now and ready to use for each and every one of you is Imagen.2. And I will talk about some of the features in a second. You can already see we're also able to generate cat images, already a recurring theme here. That's only one of the examples. So now I want to talk about some of the features which are there already today and also explain a little bit more on why that is relevant also for different industries and what you can do with that. Because we don't necessarily, I mean, it's a nice thing that you can sit down in front of your computer and you can put in a prompt and it will generate that image for you. That's nice and it helps in a lot of use cases. But it's even more interesting if, for example, your customers go to your website and receive their personalized image automatically, and you won't have the resources to generate an image for each and every one of them, right? So this can be embedded into pipelines. So you don't necessarily need to use the website, but this can also be used programmatically via APIs as well. So some of the general features of Imagen is image quality, of course. This will get better and better. Feel free to count the number of fingers here, as Andreas mentioned. so here we are already at 5 fingers, which is good. And this quality gets better and better. And one use case for this higher image quality is not only generating images with prompting, but also upscaling existing images, right? Or removing stains from images, stuff like that. I will really put in an image and say, I need this in 4K resolution. Without any interference, whatever, please reduce grain, so on and so forth. And I know that there's technology like that that has been existed before. But this quality is getting better and better. But then the second thing that we are offering already is these text overlays. So in traditional models, this is, of course, a complication that text is not really legible, because if an image is generated from multiple different source images, which somehow look similar to that one, it's just taking the best of each image, and this could be different letters from each image. But to solve this problem, we've actually got technology incorporated where you can tell the model, okay, please, I want this word to be on this toothpaste, for example, to represent my brand. And this is working now. And again, this also means programmatically that you can, for example, change the text on that toothpaste. So maybe toothpaste is not the best example, but if you want to create a birthday card, you might want to use different text on that birthday card because you want to address a different person. So that's possible already. And same thing goes for logo generation. In this example, this is just some random generic logo that's being created. But when you're a company and you want to create collateral to be used, for example, in advertising, of course you want to have your logo on there, and you don't want to have some screwed up version of your logo. So it's really, really important that there's absolutely no mistake in reproducing your logo onto any image. Same goes if you're not a company, but instead you are, for example, a journalist, just want to using some random picture, and you don't want to use the logo of any company because this might infringe intellectual property rights. Yeah? Then also you can specify that, and then it will come up with some random stand-in replacement logo which can be used. Other functionality which is more important than it might seem at first is generating different aspect ratios. Yeah? Because, of course, you can just say, I want an horizontal image, I want a landscape image, and then you crop it somehow. But maybe the area of the image that you're actually interested in, of the generated image that you're actually interested in, is being cropped that way. Yeah? So instead, you can also use a predetermined aspect ratio already. And predetermined doesn't mean that you have to specify that up front. But again, if you talk about it programmatically, for example, please show an image on my website in this area of my website, you want it to automatically be created based on the screen size your customer is using. Yeah? Or if you if you change the layout, for example, of a printing booklet, yeah, from A4 to A5 or whatever, you might not want to just shrink the image, but instead the aspect ratio will change a little bit. So you would want to generate another image which exactly fits that aspect ratio. So that's also quite an important feature if you talk about business content and not just use this like as a showcase about what you can achieve with AI. Okay, so let me get to like the next elephant in the room, because a lot of criticism revolving around AI is, of course, about stuff like deepfakes. Yeah? So oftentimes, I mean, we've seen that just now, so we haven't been able to distinguish some of the pictures that Andreas had showed from reality, because they were so photorealistic that a human cannot see that with their own eye. So therefore, it's really, really important to also have new watermarking technology. And therefore, we have Google DeepMind, which is our research facility. Some of you might have seen like this Netflix documentation about AlphaGo and how this thing learns by itself. So this research unit has actually developed SynthID, which is a watermarking technology, which is now being used in all this AI-generated content we produce. And this works both in images, but also in videos, on audio. And it works by directly embedding information that this is AI-generated content into the pixels of an image, for example. And by embedding that information in certain pixels, or also in pixels in every frame in a video, and also in the wavelength representation of an audio file, this cannot be tampered with, even if you, for example, go about and blur that image, if you crop a video, if you modify the wavelength of an audio file. This is resistant to all these kinds of tamperings. Yeah? And thereby, this watermarking technology can still be detected if you were to use these tools to create a deepfake of a person which hasn't given their permission, for example. So you can, after the fact, you can still determine this definitely was not real. This was AI generated, which is really, really important and part of this responsible AI that I've hinted at in the beginning. Yeah? And by the way, of course, we are able to watermark. All this content is watermarked, but we also offer the tools to check if something was generated this way. Yeah, so it has to go both ways. Otherwise, if you cannot verify, then all this watermarking, it doesn't help, of course. Next to watermarking, we, of course, also have safety filters, because we want to make sure that these tools cannot be used, for example, to create content that endorses violence, drug abuse, sexual content, stuff like that. Because when you rely on technology like this to automatically create content potentially for you, you really want to make sure that this content is in your interest. I mean, it doesn't help you that Google says we have an indemnifying clause and we pay for legal charges if your reputation is damaged badly by the created content. And therefore, we have real serious safety filters embedded, which are also fine-tunable by our customers. This is now just showing like the user interface in our console when you're configuring that. For example, you can say, okay, I want this AI to be able to create faces of people, but not of children. Yeah, that would be one thing. But there's a lot more categories if you go deeper. You can, for example, modify the tolerance thresholds of this AI for multiple different categories, like religion, like firearms, toxic behavior, and whatnot. Yeah, so you can go deeper and really modify that to make this enterprise ready. So I hope I've not bored you with all of this enterprise readiness, but I think this is really an important aspect of using generative AI, be it in the imaging space, text space, video space, to be really confident to apply this technology. But I want to go back to the fun stuff now and talk a little bit more about the editing potential, yeah? Because we've talked about generation so far, using prompts to generate content. But then, of course, you also want to be able to modify images. And one example is on this one, for example. So you just take an image and you expand the borders, and it will fill those blanks. And I know this is technology which has also already been in tools like Photoshop for quite a while. But this is all easily to be integrated into these pipelines I'm talking about here as well. Yeah? So you can remove a person, all the stuff that's been showing. And a lot of that is also working mask-based. Yeah? So consider you might have a volume of data that is coming in, then there's like photos, yeah, so photos from the same location, and you know that there's one portion of that photo which you want to edit every time. Then you can use a mask, say, okay, apply to this part of the photo, and apply these and these modifications. And I've got a couple of examples on the next slides. So mask-based editing, in the upper example here, you can see that one person is removed, and then the rest of the photo is expanded. So that would be one version of removing content and then outpainting to the rest of the image. On the lower part, you can also see that people are being removed and that these legs and shadows are filled photorealistically. Yeah? So that's one thing that's already working. Another use case where you can use that, and now I think this gets pretty interesting also for publishing or advertising especially, is to generate different backgrounds. Yeah? To take a photo of a product, and you don't want this product to be modified because this is your product and you don't need Gen AI to change that in any way. But you want to present that in different contexts. And I think we all know these Amazon product pictures somehow where they just drag like your product on some generic background, and you don't believe it's true one bit. But this is really taking in the dimensions of the product. So you can see the product fits on the table. It's not like this is a tiny product on a huge table, and it's not the other way around, but it really gets the context of the product and moves it where it should be. And this is, by the way, also, this is now a different part of Google, but it's also integrated in the Google Shopping experience. So if any one of you runs an e-commerce shop and places your products on Google Shopping, this technology can easily be activated there and used to present your products in a better light. Another thing which is also working, this might not be too important in a publishing context when you print stuff, but when you want to present, for example, generated content on a website as well, is the potential to create live images. Yeah? So you take an image, and maybe you don't even need a video. Yeah? So you don't need a video like a 1-minute video about your product, but instead you just want to have a little bit better visual look and feel, like in this case here, where there's this chocolate cream being flowing onto the ice cream. You want a live image, which is just running for a couple of seconds and then repeating itself. And you can automatically turn an image, for example, into such a live image with generative AI. And I'm not sure if this is really photorealistic, but for example, you can see these puppies here breathing, so it gives you the feeling this is not just a photo, but these are actual puppies. So this is one example of how this could work. Now I've got only 3 more slides showing again a couple of use cases, how these can be applied in the enterprise and different personas that can use this. So in e-commerce, for example, we might want to have a consistent set of product images. Yeah? So imagine you've got a huge catalog of products, And these are, of course, photographed at different times of day. Maybe they are produced in different facilities with different background lighting, with different sets. But instead, you could make sure that all the products you're offering have like an aligned look and feel. Yeah? So this makes your web shop much more visually appealing by really making sure they are presented in the same style, presented in the same lighting, presented in the same background. Yeah? So that would be one use case that could be leveraged with that. A second one could be to replace the background, for example, for regional specific regional backgrounds. Yeah. So in this case, you want to present your car, but you present that in different regions, and you want to tailor that to the local market, and give them a feeling that this is really specific to your local market. This doesn't have to be a region. Yeah. This can also be different target groups. For example, if you've got a product like an electronics product which is marketed to different target groups, you can present it in a setting or an environment, for example, with elderly people, and then there might be a younger crowd who can also draw value, but you want to market it to them differently, yeah, and show them in different context. So that's also an option to like alter these images automatically depending on who accesses those. And another one is, of course, to be creative, yeah, and just use this technology to, yeah, in this example, make this woman jump higher. By the way, this is now also available not only on the Pixel phones, but also on Samsung phones. And this is, again, this is what I showed in the very beginning, yeah, where people on their Pixel phones are able to modify images and just be creative and create creative content. So this is also another option to use these technologies to your advantage. So I rushed through my content now because I wanted to give the chance to ask questions as well. I'm actually already at the end of my presentation, but I hope I brought my point across, but I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Yeah, thank you very much.